Welcome to episode 5 of Ristretto, short shots, any subject, and part of the Exchange Coffee podcasting network presented by Kavoya Specialty Coffee. In this episode, I'll be reading my article on how to attend the SCA Expo, which is being rebranded as World of Coffee. I first wrote this little guide to getting the most out of attending the SCA event for the Kavoya blog 5 years ago, and for the last 3 years, Roast Magazine has been reprinting the article in their event guide. The expo is just a few days away, and I thought it would be fun to have an audio version of the guide available. Here you are at the largest gathering of coffee professionals in the world, probably in the universe. What now? The answer to what now depends on whether you plan to be here or just registered to be here. Don't have a plan? Thought maybe you would just show up and play it by ear? That's one approach, and it works for some people. But given all the time and expense it took for you to be here, it might not be the best approach, especially if this is your first or second or third or sixth time. That's okay, it's not too late. Find a quiet spot and take a seat. Beyond the seat of your pants. Quote, "If you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else." End quote, Yogi Berra. It's probably already occurred to you that you won't be able to do and see everything. You just can't. Back in 1988, when SCA held its first conference and exhibition in New Orleans, there were only 55 exhibitors and 350 attendees, and all of them could do everything there was to do at the event. Everybody basically had the same experience. More than 35 years later, there's so much happening that you can't do it all, and any dozen attendees can have vastly different experiences. What you really want to avoid is arriving home after attending Expo and having trouble articulating what you accomplished, or even remembering what you did. And at the same time making a mental list of all the things you wanted to do and all the people you wanted to see but didn't. Buyer's remorse after Expo is the worst, when all you can remember is bouncing around the event and the city like a pinball. So you're sitting down somewhere, right? With your phone in hand or hotel stationery or a napkin or a gum wrapper, review the official event and education schedule. Make a list of all the things you want to do. Prioritize the things you will regret having not done when you get back home. Enter them into your calendar and put alarms on the must-do moments. Put 2 alarms on classes or events you've paid to attend. Do it now. There will be times when you wish you could be in 2 places at once. If there are 2 things happening at the same time and you want to do both, put them both on your calendar. Chances are when the time comes to go one way or the other, circumstances will help you decide, like your location, who you now know will be in one place or the other, or the likelihood of getting coffee along the way. Now you should have the bones of a basic plan that can help you decide what happens next and keep you from becoming that pinball. But remember what President Eisenhower and other leaders have said. Plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. And some guy you've never heard of named Helmuth said, "No battle plan survives contact with the enemy." You will deviate from even the roughest sketch of a plan, but it's important to have a plan to return to after your sojourn because, repeat after me, I am not a pinball. Well met if met. Quote, "Spontaneity is one of the joys of existence, especially if you prepare for it in advance." End quote. Alan Dean Foster. Don't get up. We're not done. Now it's time to make a list of all the people you need to talk to or want to talk to, customers, suppliers, colleagues, and friends. In coffee, perhaps more so than most industries, those categories can blur. But even if they don't, there's no good reason to prioritize business meetings over seeing friends. We need our coffee friends as much as we need our coffee suppliers. Not only do our friends help us recharge because they can empathize with our struggles and successes in coffee, they remind us of the reasons we're here, people being at the top of the list. Don't leave a meeting to chance, even if it's just a social encounter. If you really want to see someone, schedule it. If it's a friend or colleague you just want to say hello to, make sure they will actually be at the party or reception you're assuming they'll be at. Once upon a time, the chances of just running into someone at Expo were high, when attendees numbered in the low thousands. Now that over 15,000 attendees crowd the floor in the hallways, chance encounters, at least the ones you're hoping for, happen less and less often. Planning is a good idea even for visits with exhibitors. Yes, that sales representative for that brewer manufacturer is always in the booth, but if they're busy talking to someone else every time you drop by, you might miss your chance. Ideally, you set a time to meet in the booth ahead of Expo so they can make sure they're available. If not, send them an email or text right now asking if you can schedule a time to meet in their booth. That way, even if they're in a conversation with someone else, they can warn them that they have an appointment coming up. Also, be willing to set appointments on Sunday when the exhibitors are less busy, but not late in the afternoon when they're itching to start tearing down their booth. Divide and conquer. Quote, "Nothing is particularly hard if you divide it into small jobs." End quote, Henry Ford. If more than one person from your company is attending Expo, you can be in more than one place at the same time. Split up. As appealing and comforting as it might be to spend time together as a team while attending Expo, that approach represents a lost opportunity. Save team time for social hours. Having members of your team attend the same lecture represents one of the largest of lost opportunities. Divvy up the educational sessions. If 2 people from your company attend 2 different lectures or panels, they can each bring back what they've learned to your company. Divide and conquer also applies to the exhibitor show floor. Don't try and tackle the entire floor in one day. By the time you hit the last third of the floor, your attention span will be shot along with your feet. If touring the floor is part of your plan, break it up into short visits over all 3 days. And here's a hack for your feet. Change your shoes in the middle of the day. Even if you're not necessarily changing into a more comfortable pair of shoes, the change will revive your feet and they will thank you for it. Finally, if you have some serious networking goals, divide and conquer the party circuit too. This doesn't mean splitting up your team among different parties. Attending social events as a team can be important. But once your team is at an event, have their drinks in hand, and have conducted some recon of attendees, don't huddle, spread out and circulate. Party less, Garth. Quote, partying is such sweet sorrow. End quote. Every time I die. If you're old enough to get the twisted Wayne's World reference, you might consider the advice. No matter how old you are now, you were much younger back when Wayne and Garth were on TV. This is not to say you should teetotal your way through Expo, but even if you're among the young, jet lag, exhaustion, likely dehydration, perhaps less than stellar grub during the day, and a night of imbibing more than usual can have an unexpected debilitating effect the next morning, worse than your typical hangover. To each their own, but don't say I didn't warn you. If you want to cut loose, leave the next morning open on your schedule, and certainly do not set any important appointments. If you are among those who may find the volume and availability of adult beverages at any event like Expo unusual, a review of some basics might be in order. 1. Eat. If you find yourself with a drink in your hand and not being able to remember the last time you ate, this is a very common part of the fog of the event. It's best to eat before you arrive at the party. But if that was not an option, look around. There will be food nearby. Eat it. 2. Dance with the one that brought you. Stick with one type of drink all night, and name your brand if that's an option when ordering spirits so you stay off the bottom shelf. 3. Water, water, water. Try to drink as much water as you do alcohol or more. And while we're on the subject of parties, you'll never make it to all of them. And if you did, there would have been little value to the evening beyond finger foods and drinks. More than most industries, the coffee business is still driven by relationships, and if you spend more time in taxis, Uber, and Lyft cars than you do establishing or reviving relationships, it's another opportunity lost. You may be invited to parties hosted by suppliers, customers, industry organizations, maybe even entire countries. It might seem silly, but again, it's best to have a plan. For every party you're invited to, ask yourself why you would attend. Go to the parties for which you have the best answer to that question. And keep in mind that sometimes, if not most of the time, a long dinner with just a few people you know well or would like to know better is the best decision. There are many opportunities at Expo, or World of Coffee, from learning new things to meeting people who can help your business directly or indirectly, but few opportunities are tripped over. Even if you didn't plan before arriving, you can spend just a few minutes now to plan and be intentional at Expo and not turn into a pinball. You've been listening to an episode of Ristretto, short shots, any subject and part of the Exchange Coffee Podcasting Network, presented by Kavoya Specialty Coffee and produced by me, Mike Ferguson. Our Ristretto theme music is Espresso Bar by Hans Hofken. You can always reach out with comments, questions, thoughts, and ideas at mike.ferguson@kavoya.com. Thanks for listening.